Welcome in to Wager Talk's last call. Kelly Stewart here. We're scrambling this morning. Art DiCesare just sent me what feels like 40 basketball games, and I was trying to get all these bets in before the show started. I'm not kidding. Look how long that list is. Very, very long. We're going to get into that. But first, Gianni the Greek waiting in the wings. We don't want to keep him waiting too long because he's a busy man. He's got things to do over at WagerTalk.com. VR, how do you want to do this morning? You want to go through what you've got? You want to go through what Art's got?
Yeah. Start off with Art, because okay. We've just been on fire, man. I got so much good information for the viewers today. It'll be like fishing with dynamite today. So, throw out Art, and then we'll take it from there.
The comment section is calling me an HOA Karen because I made the mistake of telling everybody that I'm now HOA president in my community. Listen, I do that so I can control things because I get shit done, guys. You know what? We're going to get shit done here this morning. We're going to make some money today. That is at least my overall plan. Sharp action, Art DiCesare, Westgate Superbook. Make sure you guys get your pen and paper ready because boy, oh boy, is this a lot. And then I want to kind of cover what VR's got to see if there is some similarities. We're going to start off right off the top. And I apologize, guys. Art did not send me rotation numbers. So please bear with me. I will go slow. Providence plus 4.5. Kansas State plus 4.5. New Mexico State plus 5.5. Belmont minus 13.5. Louisiana Lafayette plus 11.5. Murray State plus 6. Rutgers plus 12. UTSA plus 24. Maryland plus 19. Oregon State minus 2.5. DePaul plus 7.5. UC San Diego minus 5.5. UMass plus 11.5. Cal Bakersfield minus 2. Cincinnati plus 8.5. Rice plus 2.5. Valparaiso plus 5.5. And the team that I call Bobby Moe, Robert Morris, pick 'em. So I will go over those again here later on through the show, as well as Art's best bet that he gave me. But we got to get in and hear what VR's got to say, not only about college basketball today, but what else is going on with him over at WagerTalk.com.
Yeah, so far, a lot of confirmation. You got to remember, a lot of the steam that they're getting at Westgate, they put up early numbers. Like, they're willing to take a bet. They're willing to have an opinion. So you got to remember, just like they put out the look-aheads with the NFL, some of these get hit just until the number gets shaped into where it should be, and then there's not follow-through. So they get hit with some steam that you don't see also get hit like across the screen. And then there's some of the signs that you see follow through. Some of the signs that I saw some of the groups hit again today that line up with what Art said was the Robert Morris at plus 1.5 to -1. Cincinnati from plus 9 all the way down to plus 7.5. And Rice from plus 3, plus 2.5, UTSA plus 24, and that UMass plus 11.5 and 12 we had, Rutgers plus 12, Kansas State plus 5 and 4.5, and ULL plus 11.5 and 11. So those lined up with exactly what Art had to say, and that's good. That's what you want to see.
Yeah, because what you're essentially saying, VR, is that not only the groups that are playing at the Westgate, right? The groups that are asking you to move some of these games for them are also putting it into other accounts. So we're going to go ahead and assume, and I never want to do that, but I'm going to go ahead and assume these are not fake plays, right? What I've been getting is a really good group of sharp totals. And I think we've had one lose out of like the last 9 or 10. The guy has been on fire. Granted, I'm not getting the best of the number. By the time I get the information, it's already a point and a half off. So I've got to kind of make some decisions at that point in time. Is it better to wait in game? Is it better to wait at halftime or bet it now? The reality is, though, there are fake plays being put in, as you mentioned, at the Westgate. Hey, this got put in early in the week. Can you kind of go through that process so people understand for basketball season, right? I know we still have college football playoff and bowl games going on, but for college basketball season, what we should be kind of looking at. You know, I think a lot of people get in a little bit of trouble trying to chase, whether it's the odds logic screen or the Wager Talk free odds screen.
Yeah, and right now you're looking at a completely different market than what it's going to be in about 6 weeks from now or when football's over. Because up until this Saturday, college basketball has been taking a back seat to football. mostly used in parlays, mostly primetime standalone games. So it's been the wise guys versus the sports books primarily. That changes today with no football really on the board. So they're now forced not just to parlay, not just to tease, but they're going to straight bet these college basketball games and not just those marquee primetime TV games. That's where they're at a disadvantage because, again, they're diving in right now, kind of like we saw. I joked about COVID, where everybody became a handball specialist all of a sudden, you know.
Hey, and listen, Russian table tennis, KBO, exactly. Nicaraguan soccer.
That's where the money is.
Trying to survive, okay?
That's where the money is. Yeah, that's what we were all doing. Exactly. Now they're diving into this college basketball today. So you'll see the betting syndicates knowing that. So they're able now to sit back, and some of these lines today will get pushed from the public, not from sharp money. Again, two things move lines other than factors like injuries, suspensions. It's respect, an account that they know wins long-term, that gets good closing line value, or a lot of money so they could manage risk. And the public don't get respect, but they bet a lot of money. And when that starts happening, like it's going to happen today, some of these lines will get moved out of whack. So what happens with these betting syndicates is early on, as soon as these lines go up, they're strictly power rated based. That's what their bets are based on. I did this for a long time. We'd get now it's a little different. You'd get a sheet like this, and it would have what we thought the line should be compared to whatever they're going to put up there. What my sheet has and what the board is off, I have the green light to bet. That's all based on power ratings. And the power ratings are going to differ from group to group. And they're really going to differ from what the book has because they got to follow, again, the narrative out there. And real quickly, not to go long, but a perfect example. When I look at the rankings, what do I see? I see Arizona number 1. I see Michigan number 2. I see Duke number 3. I look at Ken Palm. I see kind of the same thing. Michigan, Iowa State, Gonzaga. But power rating wise, Duke's number 1. Power rating wise, Duke's number 1. Gonzaga's number 2. Houston's number 3. Like they're not even, I don't even see Houston. Houston's barely in the top 10. They're barely in the top 10 on Ken Palms, and they're number 7 right now in the rankings. Dude, there's only like 2 teams that would be favored over Houston, and Gonzaga may not even. Gonzaga would probably be a pick 'em against Houston. Duke's the only team that would be favored over Houston. So not going to go off on a tangent, but those are power ratings, and that's what a lot of those early bets are going to be based on. As the day progresses, information starts coming in. This player's not 100%. This player's not playing. Like that, more of a handicap, more information based, coupled with the public knocking some of these lines out of whack, which then opens up value. That's why don't be scared if you see the line moving up in one direction, then coming back down the other way. Because a lot of times the move was initiated by public money. They forced the books to adjust. That offered up some value to wise guys who then come in and sweep up that value. So again, today's a little bit different because we're getting an influx of casual bettors that haven't really been mixing it up in college basketball like they're going to do today. So it's a good opportunity to make some money, but you got to be a little bit patient.
All right, let's kind of get into some more of the slate for today. But first, let everybody know kind of what's going on different over at WagerTalk.com. A couple weeks ago, I screwed up and everybody on the show got a free Steam sheet. Not today, guys, but we're going to bring that back for those here on Last Call. Johnny did give me the green light to let everybody know that not only is it a bet on it special, it is also a Last Call special, Ace 365. So WT.buzz/Ace 365. What can they get with that right now, VR?
Bro, we're giving like the year for like $3 a day, like $100 a month. And I said, throw in the blackjack. So the guys that because so much of it connects with sports as far as risk management and stuff like that. So throw in the blackjack so they get the whole course to be advantage blackjack players. You could learn that, study it, keep it for the rest of your lives. You have access to that. So we're throwing that in there as well. And since starting the Steam sheet, life's gotten so good. Like the results speak for themselves. Again, not the tout, but it's been a little while now. Number one, last 3, 7, 10. That's not going to change. Again, I'm going to have losing days, losing weeks, losing months. But now that I'm able to use the Steam sheet to share a ton of information and only narrow down gold for premium, that return on investment is going to be a lot greater than it has been. I will be on the leaderboard a lot more than in the past because of the volume. And yesterday was a perfect example. One premium play, that was it. Sixers -6, they got us the money. But for those guys that do handicap their own stuff, I put a lot of information in the Steam sheet. Like today, I've only had one premium so far in college basketball, Kel, but there's 10, 11 college basketball Steam plays in there, 10, 11 bowl games in there, 10, 11 NFL games, 2 NBA, 3 NBA Steam, NHL's coming, MMA's coming. So all that information for you to decide what you agree on, what you want to bet and piggyback. It's for those handicappers out there that want to do what I do and not just piggyback my opinion. So jump on board. You get the Steam sheet for free just for signing up, more or less. Premium subscribers get it. You get 4 of the Steam rooms per month. Again, it's a steal. We're not going to do it for long, but this 365, I want people to partner up with me, Kel, for the next year, for 2026. So we could meet up every week in the Steam room, do it right, and actually make money over the next 12 months betting sports. So I'm really excited. Thank you for giving me a minute to share.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're doing here. We are sharing on this Saturday morning. I already shared a ton of sharp plays. I will get a few more of those out, as well as Art DiCesare from the Westgate Superbook's best bet for you guys before Steve Merrill comes on. But we got a few more minutes with VR here. VR, you and I talked about this on Bet On It, and I kind of want to get into it a little bit more. My buddy Steven hit me up last night, and for years I've helped Steven with whether it's some of his contests in NFL, college football. And he goes, hey, I'm entering that bowl contest again. Do you want in? I said, no. I said, I just, last year I get so frustrated. Well, first of all, the spread locks, right? Just like every other contest. So the other problem is once the first game kicks off, like today, guess what? All of your selections lock. You can't change it because it's an old school where you send it in like on an Excel sheet. Now, if it was like on Splash where I could change it up until kickoff, I might consider it, right? But unfortunately, you can't. And I said, Steven, I'm sorry, I'm out. I sent him like Mark Lawrence's bowl guide, and that was it. I said, good luck. And I kind of feel that way. Let's kind of talk about bowl season, how you're going to approach bowl season, what you guys have already seen for bowl season, and how we should be handicapping what feels like unhandicappable.
The bowls. Yeah. I'll tell you what, Kel, because by this time of the year, whether we like it or not, we've all drawn our conclusions. We're all biased on teams, that this team's good, this team sucks. Like it's hard to change that up when we get this late into the season. And then between now and the bowl game, we're going to hear nothing but noise. This team's players aren't playing. This coach is gone. Like all these factors that we don't have to deal with during the regular season. And more importantly, all these factors that are so impossible to quantify. What is that actually worth? Like when that coach leaves and isn't going to be there for the bowl game, what is it worth? Is it worth 2 points to the line, 6 points to the line? Like what is it really actually worth? Do we have a sample size? That's the problem. We're all kind of speculating. And the more you speculate, the more you go out on the risk curve. The more you go out on the risk curve, the more your return needs to be because you're taking on more risk. And in sports betting, unfortunately, we're laying 11 to win 10 pretty much with every single bet. So it's not like we could change that. So you just got to be more selective. That's the key with the bowl games. Just because it's the standalone TV game like today with Washington and Boise State, like if you don't feel you have a good bet, you don't have to get involved. That's the key. But because it's bowl games, because it's playoffs, because they're TV games, everybody wants action. That's where, as a sharp bettor, you can take advantage of it as well. Because if you're not going to get ahead of the information, no, again, unless this is what you do, it's hard to get out ahead of the sports books before they're able to adjust their lines. So as I touched on, Bet On It, what you have to do to take advantage, wait till the information's confirmed, till you know these players are out, this coach is gone. And then when the market overreacts, because we always do, we think players are worth more to the line. We think coaches are worth more to the game. And once we start overreacting, then you take advantage. That's the best way for recreational bettors to make money during the bowl season. It's hard to do because it's kind of like I say with all trading. You got to be able to run into a burning building, when everything's crashing? Are you built for that? When the stock market's crashing and they're telling you Bitcoin's going to zero, China just banned it, FTX is collapsing, they're going to prison. Do you have the guts to go in and buy it at 18,000 or not? That's the same thing with sports betting. Do you have the guts to go up and bet that Tennessee Titans because of line value, the Raiders because of line value? We know they suck by this time of the year. And it's the same with the bowl games. Some of these teams, they'd be 20, 30-point dogs to Ohio State's of college football. But still, in a game-by-game basis, there's a lot of value to take advantage of because, again, bettors are going to be betting these games, Kel, that haven't been following the teams all year, don't have the information, and just want the action. And you could take advantage of that going anti-narrative. This is where you want to fade the public. Not in every game, but you don't want to be afraid to fade. I don't want to say fade the public, fade the narrative, because we tend to overreact when it comes to bowl season.
Yeah, I tried to get ahead of a couple things, VR. One of them was Clemson. I said, all right, I think we are going to see some Penn State opt-outs. We laid 3 with Clemson at a couple different spots. And I thought, you know what? If it comes back, we can bet the other side. We can bet off of it. There's not like a massive amount. Got all the way up to 5.5 in some shops. And then somebody said, these people are wrong. And I thought that exact same thing. I'm like, maybe we got told wrong about the opt-outs. We've only seen a couple so far. We'll see how it ends up playing out over the next couple of weeks. But we have historically seen when head coaches leave that the team that's favored that is more intact, right? Like a Clemson versus a Penn State, the line gets so out of control.
Yep.
It doesn't matter though. It just ends up being a blowout. The most recent one that comes to mind that I had a ton of early money on was like K-State -3.5 over LSU. I think it closed 9.5 or 10. In case it didn't matter. K-State just blew out an unmotivated, unhead coached, LSU team. And so when do you say, okay, I'm going to fade the narrative? Because I don't feel like fading those types of narratives have been profitable as of late, at least to recent memory.
No, and you're right. That's the problem. It's like in an individual game-by-game basis. And again, it all comes down to the sample size, like you said, like over the last couple, it hasn't worked for you. But I think if you go back further and further, it probably hasn't done.
I think the big thing is that this is still a relatively new concept, right? We've always had coaches leave, but that's because of the timing of spring ball and things like that. But with NIL, the transfer portal, I think it's just gotten so much more significant, right? You may have had a Josh Rosen back in the day at UCLA opt out and you'd see the line move 3 points. Fine. The head coach is still there. The backup quarterback knows the system, whatever. But now it's like the quarterback's opting out. The head coach is gone. Top 3 receivers, the running back, everybody.
That's where you got to walk away. Those are fadeable because you nailed it. You can only adjust so much. And then there's still value fading that. Like you could still fade that after it's been adjusted because like you said, it's new. We don't have, even the books don't know what it's worth. So don't be afraid to bet that team that just lost the coach, lost the players, even after the adjustment, because you can only move it so much. It's kind of like with weather's bad or, 2 stud pitchers. They're only going to bring the total down so low. And sometimes
you're not going to see like a 4 in Major League Baseball.
You'll never see it.
The lowest are going is 5.5.
And when I first came here, Kel, the lowest they went was 7. Picture that. So it didn't matter. There was never a 6.5. There was no such thing as a 6.5. It was 7s, juiced to maybe -150, but they wouldn't go to 6s. Now, the market's kind of become more efficient. And I think you could do that with college football for a little bit, where they haven't caught up to what that's worth. So yeah, forget on those spots fading the narrative. That's fading the bad team. I think you're better off.
All right, we broke down Army Navy. Before we get to see Merrill, we're waiting for him to pop on here so we can let VR get out of here and get to work. And then we've got Kyle Anthony for UFC. But we talked about Army Navy on Bet On It this week. And I still have not gotten to the window. Our producer, Louie, texted me just a minute ago when I was off camera and said, I think I got to bet Navy. And I thought, I really feel like this is that sharp square game. I understand why everybody likes Navy. I mean, if you look at the offensive metrics, they're top 15 in a ton of different metrics Army, I did see that defense, though, against Kansas State, and they were able to control the time of possession. So I keep, going back and forth here. What are you guys seeing from like a betting perspective? Are the sharps getting involved with this game? Or is this just one of those games like, all right, here's a mild opinion if you really feel like you need to get involved because it's, there's no other bowl games on today?
Army had the tougher strength of schedule and is the better defense. But obviously Navy with the record and the offense looks like the sexier side. Sharps got involved when this line opened up. They bet the Navy side at -4.5, -5. That was it. Since then, it's been the public that's hitting it. That's why we're not at 7 yet. Had this been sharp money at 6, 6.5, we'd be looking at 7 juiced. The reason we're not looking at 7 juiced is because the fear of, if we go to 7, are we now going to be sitting in the middle where we got Navy -4.5, 5, Army +7, this one lands 6, we're paying everybody. That's what they're fighting right now. How much risk are they going to take on Navy? Because remember, don't forget, the teasers are going to start piling up. Even though there's not much to tease it with, there's bowl games ahead for next week, the week after that, playoff college football. So don't think they're not going to tease this game down with Navy. Moneyline parlays down with Navy. So it's going to come down to, will they go to 7? If they don't go to 7, that's a telling sign on the Army side. That's a telling sign. So if you like the Navy side, what you need to be paying attention to, you want this to go to 7. You want this to kick off at 7 juiced. If this one kicks off at 6.5 or worse, goes back to 6, I wouldn't be comfortable with that Navy ticket in my pocket. I want that at 7. Otherwise, I'd be looking to the Army side because that's the side I was leaning to anyway. I just don't have that conviction to really bet Army. Other than, like I said, tougher strength of schedule, better defense, obviously motivated. It's a service academy type of game. Army has nothing else to play for but trying to beat Navy. So there's that motivation. But on paper, Navy is the better team. But with a low total, it's take the points or pass for myself. And where this line sits right now, like I said, one-sided money on Navy, but we're not looking at 7. To me, it's Army or pass right now. Like I said, if you have Navy, you want to see 7 on that board for sure.
I got some smart asses in the comment section. Using K-State as your data point isn't wise. Sorry, Sean. It's the only Army game I watched all season long. It's just the reality. That's the only Army game I watched all season long. It is what it is. VR, thank you so much for hanging out with us every single Saturday here, blessing us with your knowledge, sharp action, and really just making us betters, myself included. Ace365. That's wt.buzz/Ace365. That is his special website to go partner up with him for the entire year, less than $3 a day. That is the way to do it. If you want to link up with VR, because then you're getting access to the Steam sheet, the Steam room, the blackjack course, and every single premium play he releases at Greek_Gambler on social media. VR is back tomorrow with Ariel Epstein for another NFL Saturday. Thank you, VR. We will
Good luck.
See you on Wednesday for the next episode of Bet On It. Let's bring in Steve Merrill. He's going to answer all of your college basketball questions. There's a ton of them in the chat, so we're going to just get right in it. Good morning, Steve Merrill.
There we go. I couldn't figure out why my mouse hadn't been working for the last 2 weeks since I traveled for Thanksgiving, and I realized because a little USB thing I'd stuck in here was not stuck into my thing. So just now, as I was listening to Ace finish up, I was like, oh, I'll make it work. And it kicked off my ring light, my mic, my connection, too much overload. So that's why the light was off, because I just restarted. It's always something. So, yeah, we're using the touchpad as I've been
Merrill,
doing for 2 weeks.
in case you guys didn't know, well, he does wonders from the handicapping side of things. He's not very good at technology.
Whatever.
That is his one downfall. Let's kind of get into some of these college basketball games here for today, Steve Merrill. We're going to go right off the top. I'm going all the way back to the earlier questions. So if you guys have a question, drop it in the chat and we will get it answered. First one, K-State plus 4.5 here. They are at Creighton. The reason why I bring this one up, Steve, is because when Art DiCesare sent me his exhaustive list this morning, I thought, K-State plus 4.5, why would you want to bet this team that lives and dies by the 3? They were ice cold from 3. Basically at Indiana, next subsequent 3 games, and then they beat Utah, Mississippi Valley State of the Poor. I don't know. Women's team. I don't know what it was. They were laying 37.5, blew their doors off. And now all of a sudden we want to go back to the well with this team. But like, do you believe in get right spots? Is that what's going on here? It's like, oh, this is a get right spot for K-State because they got right versus a crappy team. Now they've gotten some of the kinks out, able to go into Creighton and get the win. I'm kind of confused here about this line.
I gave everybody a great free play earlier this week with your K-State Wildcats. I used the over 98.5 team total.
Always.
And it was actually Monday because I told Joe Madden I did last call Monday, and I did a video for that. There were 2 games, 2 ugly games on Monday night. I did the Texas game against Southern and this K-State Mississippi Valley State game. And as I dug into it more, I really started liking that team total over because K-State had lost 4 in a row, but their first 5 wins this year, they'd scored 98 or more in 3 of the 5, 93 or more in 4 of the 5. All 5 had gone over. They played at the 12th fastest pace in the country. And after 4 losses, Kelly, you knew they were going to be in a foul mood. So I really loved that team total over. Should have made it a client play. But, a lot of people don't have access still to college basketball team totals. Even some of the big global books don't offer it. But to get back to that Mississippi Valley State win, there are 365 Division I basketball teams. If you look at Ken Palm or any of the other metrics you want to use on efficiency, Mississippi Valley State is the worst Division I college basketball team in the country this year. Their only win came against M-U-W. And I had to look that one up. It's obviously not a Division I school. Mississippi College for Women. So I had to go down that rabbit hole. I dug even deeper. When they were founded in the 1870s, I'm not messing with you. I'm not trying to get canceled here. It was called the Mississippi Industrial Institute and College for the Education of White Girls. I swear to you, that's what this school was called. So to put it in perspective, this was not a great win for Kansas State, but they got back on track, as you said, and now it's a huge step up in class after that 108-49 win. K-State has not stepped up in class well this season, and I project about a 7.5 point line here, so I would lean towards Creighton, and Creighton is coming off a bad loss by 21 points against Nebraska last Sunday, so it looks like a focus spot for Creighton, and I think they're the better team. And it's all about tempo. We talked about K-State being one of the fastest teams in the country. Well, Creighton plays extremely slow. They're around 300th in tempo. So I think at home they're going to dictate the tempo and frustrate your K-State Wildcats today.
Yeah, K-State team totals have been absolute and utter money, as have the game totals. I think they're 7-2 to the over. I need to double check that again.
I'd be careful with that one today, though, Kel, because as you know, Creighton plays a lot slower. And I don't think they're going to be able to dictate the tempo. So that would be one today. Maybe goes under today with K-State.
All right. Keep an eye on that one, guys. Question from the chat. Arizona, Alabama. Guys, I forgot to tell you at the start of the show. I'm not super nitpicky during college football, but during college basketball, I'm going to need those rotation numbers because it makes it a lot easier when searching for these games on the odds logic screen. Steve Merrill, give me this current line on this game and, of course, your thoughts.
Well, I need a rotation number 2. What do you think? I can just memorize all of these games? Yeah, there's a lot of games here. My thoughts are this should be a very tight game. We'll see what the current number is here as I scroll down. Yeah, we really do need rotation number.
Yeah, I try to do Kelly. Control. You can do Command F on Apple and search. So that's what I'm going to do right now. But of course, I got to update my odds logic. These things make life a little bit easier.
Yeah, Arizona. Yeah, this game was picked, and that's why I wanted to check. It's now 2, and it's actually the board is lighting up right now.
Yes,
it's
going
from 1.5 to 2 on Arizona because that's another reason you want to check these lines. We're doing this show 11:30 a.m. Eastern Saturday. I don't want to give you a number from 30 minutes ago because it's probably changed. So yeah, now it was 1.5 before the show. Now it's Arizona -2. We've seen a little bit of money coming on them. Not a surprise. We've seen money coming on the over from 172.5 up to 178 now, even 178.5 out there. Should be a high-scoring game, no question about it. Alabama, once again, not a surprise, plays extremely fast. K-State's 10th this year. They were 12th on Monday. They're now 10th. Alabama's 9th. So Alabama plays even faster than K-State in tempo. Arizona, a top 35 tempo team as well. So biggest total on the board, and something that Ralph Michaels and myself, Steve Merrill, love to say, the highest totals go over and the lowest totals go under. So we've seen a lot of sharp money on the over. I would not disagree. These are 2 of the best offensive teams in the country. Shouldn't be many turnovers either. Bama, as fast as Bama plays, they do not force turnovers. They're not a pressure team. They just want to get up and score. The one thing that jumps out at me when I'm looking at my matchup metrics, which I like to do with really highly ranked teams like this, is where is there maybe a weakness? And one thing Arizona relies heavily on is 2-point shooting. Alabama's got a very mediocre 2-point defense because they play fast. So, yeah, I think both teams could score here. I think that's one of the reasons we've seen money coming on Arizona, because it's a favorable matchup, and we've definitely seen money coming on the over.
All right. I think this is an old SWAC game, right? Isn't it? SWAC? Arkansas, Texas Tech. Right here, odds logic screen. Steve Merrill, rotation number 601, 602. Open 1.5 in favor of Tech. They're moving up to 2. Starting to light up here a little bit more on the total, though. 155 pretty much across the board. Kind of your thoughts on these two teams this year? Hand up, guys. I have not been as involved in college basketball as I should have been, and that's why we got guys like Steve Merrill on.
Yeah, look, and it's nothing wrong with not being involved with college hoops like we talked about last week in November and early December. Everyone, as I told you last week, nobody knows anything in November. Don't let them. Even the coaches don't know what they have, because half their roster is new, transfer portal, hasn't played even more than one or two preseason exhibition games. But I do like to start diving in more to college hoops now for a couple reasons. First of all, we have 10-plus games under our belt, so we have a good statistical sample to look at. The matchup analysis stuff I'm giving you now is legit. And the other reason, Kelly, is because they're in exam periods right now. And this will be kind of over after next week. But we're getting very close to conference play. And I really feel like after that exam period, maybe give them one game to get back. Late December on, we're in full throttle college basketball mode here. And this should be a good game today. I think it'll be one of the more competitive games. I've got Arkansas winning by about 2 points here on average based on my matchup projections. So I do think maybe the wrong team is favored here. I would say Arkansas is a live dog. Little surprised to see that line go from 1.5 to 2. As far as the matchup metrics here, I rate Arkansas as the better team, even and they're once again playing a Texas Tech team that's pretty good as well. Arkansas plays a lot faster than Texas Tech, so it probably will come down to tempo, who can control things here. Arkansas gives up a lot of 3-point shots, and Texas Tech does take a lot of threes. So once again, a little bit of a random handicap here, and that's what kept this off my card. Even though I think there's some value with Arkansas, it's hard to predict those 3-point shots, and Texas Tech is a good 3-point shooting team. Arkansas has given up almost 43% of their points from beyond the arc this year. It's really going to come down to if Texas Tech hits those threes or not.
All right, Steve, we're just going to keep going down rotation number, at least. This is how I'm going through the questions so that I don't screw up too bad. Michigan State headed to Penn State, but they are now just an 11-point road favorite. We even have a 10.5 here in Florida at the Hard Rock, total 145. Any kind of thoughts on if you missed the number here, now you're down to 11, 1.5-point line move. Is that enough to keep you off a game?
I predicted about an 11-point win, so I think the line is fair. And one thing I do with all sports, as you know, is look at situational setups. In college basketball, I also look at tempo and pace a lot. You want to try to play slow teams against fast teams. I also look at matchups where a team has a strength versus a weakness, maybe like a good pressure defense against a team that turns it over a lot, or as I mentioned, teams that allow a lot of threes versus a team that hits threes. Careful, though, with 3 points. You know, predicting 3-point margin is kind of like trying to predict turnovers in football. Turnovers in football, 3-point shooting in both the NBA and college hoops decides most games. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to predict ahead of time. But as far as the situational setup here, it should be a focus spot for Michigan State. So as I said, I project an 11-point win, but I'm actually willing to give up a little line value here because of the situational setup. And I say that because after an 8-0 start, they dropped their first game of the season last Saturday against Duke, 66-60. So you've got one of the best teams in the country, always one of the best coached teams in the country under Tom Izzo, coming off their first loss of the season. And now they're facing a very mediocre Penn State team that also lost to Indiana, but they lost that game by 41 points on Tuesday. Their other loss against Providence came by 12. So the 2 times Penn State has lost this year has both been by double digits. It would be Michigan State or pass for me in this one. Should be a focus spot for the Spartans. And both teams play fairly slow. I just think Michigan State does it better. And speaking of 3-point rates, both teams give up a lot of threes, but neither team takes many threes. So here again, it should be a fairly clean handicap. I think Michigan State has a big edge down low.
All right, I've been waiting to talk about this game because this is Art DiCesare's best bet. I was waiting to slide that in. Now we've got almost 3,000 of you guys watching live. So Art loves the other side today, which is Illinois. 669, 670 is the rotation number. Illinois opened as a 9-point favorite. Now we're starting to see a 12 pop up there at circa, Steve. 156, 157, 157. And this total is all over the board.
Yeah, so last week, Art like Dayton, remember? And I said I was probably going to disagree with him because that was going to be a mini home game for UVA down in Charlotte. It was a neutral court. And UVA basketball got it done by 13. Football was not as fortunate. I'm sure the UVA fans would rather have the opposite result. I'm probably the worst person to ask about Illinois right now because I have faded them in each of their last 2 games without success. I've been on a monster run. I probably am like 70, 75% on all other sports best bets if you take those 2 Illinois games out of the equation the last couple of weeks. Tennessee last Saturday bit me, and then I thought it was a good spot to take Ohio State as a live home dog on Tuesday night, and that was the only game I missed all week in basketball to this point. So Illinois has been a team I haven't had a great read on. They've been playing better than I've expected, but I still think they're a little bit overrated because of that. And now after 2 outperformances, not afraid here to maybe take a side with Nebraska, who I do rank as a top 30 team. Nebraska gives up a ton of 3-point percentage of points. In fact, there are 365 teams. They give up the 4th most points from 3-point range in the country. Over 50% of their opponents' points come from beyond the arc. And Illinois is a decent 3-point team. So once again, it's going to come down to 3-point shooting. But if Illinois is off by a little bit here, which I think they're probably due to be, might not be a bad spot for Nebraska. And both teams take care of the ball, excellent care of the ball here. So that's another reason we've maybe seen that total move a bit. Should not be many turnovers in this game.
All right, next up, we're going to just keep rattling through these. Kyle Anthony's waiting in the wings to talk UFC with you guys. We're going to get these college basketball questions first. Thoughts on IU UK? 7:30 tonight, rotation number 705, 706. Indiana is headed to Kentucky. Kentucky opened as a 4.5-point favorite, now as low as 2.5 here on the WagerTalk odds screen. Steve Merrill, oh boy, is Kentucky on upset alert?
Well, I mean, I think you almost are getting value now with Kentucky, which is crazy because I'm not a fan of these teams that, try to build these a $20 million payroll, I think they have or something. And Mark Pope, you got to respect Mark Pope. I love when a coach comes out and says, I've done a terrible job coaching. That's what he said a few weeks ago after the 3-2 start. They dropped an 8-point loss to Louisville. They lost by 17 to that Michigan State team we just talked about. Came back 2-0 wins against Loyola, Maryland, Tennessee Tech. And then they've since lost to North Carolina and Gonzaga. And they just blew out North Carolina Central. So, yeah, on the surface, their wins have not been impressive. The other wins, by the way, Nicholls State and Valparaiso. But the losses have all come against good teams, and Indiana is a good team. So we'll see if this Kentucky team starts to gel or not. I think this might be the spot to use them. This is still a very talented squad, and I've kind of been waiting for a spot to use them. And when Mark Pope said, I've done a terrible job coaching, yet they have like a $20, $25 million payroll, I think at some point this team is going to break out. And at 6-4, I almost feel like we're fading the public here by taking Kentucky against Indiana. And look, I could be wrong, right? It would not shock me if they play awful again tonight. But I have a sneaking suspicion tonight might be the time to use Kentucky.
All right, Steve, we've got a few more minutes with you, and I'm waiting for some more questions to populate. So this seems like a good time to hop in and say, Steve Merrill, what you got going on over at WagerTalk.com?
I know you all touched on the college football, but I do have videos for both games today, the Army-Navy game and also the I Love LA, the LA Bowl, Kelly. It starts tonight, Boise State and Washington. And both teams are going to play full throttle. I like these early bowl games because you get less opt-outs. That Boise just played last week. Washington was basically a bye week. I do have a free play in that game in the video. Also, a deep dive into the Army-Navy game as well, side and total. So check out the videos for free here on Wager Talk TV. And by the way, I'm going to do every college football bowl game. Kind of. I didn't do the Celebration Bowl today. I didn't feel like celebrating.
Oh, you did. So you're not doing every single bowl game.
That's technicality. I'm doing every Division 1A, every FBS bowl game I am doing. That's an FCS game. In fact, when I recorded the LA Bowl earlier this week, there was no line on that game, so I couldn't even do it if I wanted to. Even the odds makers weren't celebrating that game until a day or so ago. But the FCS playoffs are fun to watch. I'm not going to do those. But yes, every big boy bowl game will be up here on Wager Talk TV. And, I'm going to stagger them. I did the Blitz show with Ralph and Brian on Thursday, and I was about to record that Troy game for Tuesday because I kind of liked it, and the line moved right after the show. Literally moved from 3 to 2.5 off the key number. So I'm going to record that maybe today or tomorrow. We'll get that up Monday. My point is click subscribe, click the bell. You will get an instant alert when every bowl game is posted for free here on the channel. And, don't forget about the NFL. I've got previews for those huge games tomorrow afternoon, Packers and the Broncos, also Lions, Rams. Sunday night football, Vikings, Cowboys. Monday night football, Steelers, Dolphins. And yes, we won again with the Thursday night prime game, 12-3 now, as I gave you the Falcons. An outright winner, had the Lions last week over the Cowboys. If you're not getting the free NFL plays, I don't know what you're thinking. I'm number one in the NFL over the last year, up 83 units going back over the past year in the NFL, 60 and 35. And Kelly, I buried the lead. That's 63%. Fade the public is 63% for free this season. And I've got the 5 most public plays for this Sunday loaded in my video for today, including 3 public dogs in those 5 games. Kelly, the public is running scared.
Public stinky dogs.
Oh, they are scared. They've gone 1-7 the last 2 weeks, 2-9 the last 3 weeks. We're 63% fading them this season, and they don't know what to do. There's only one favorite in the official card this week.
Wow,
how crazy is that?
That is very, very crazy. Let's hit a couple more of these college basketball games. Oklahoma State, rotation number 617, 618. Oklahoma opened as a 1.5-point favorite. Total 164.5. This is up to 170 at a global book, and 2.5 pretty much across the board. We're even starting to see some threes populate on the odds logic screen.
Yeah, it should be another good game. We've got a lot of good matchups today that we're talking about here. They're picking some good games. All of these I have like within a basket. And here again, I've got Oklahoma State winning this one by about 2. Should be in that 160 range. Should be a high-scoring game. And as we always talk about, it's about tempo. Oklahoma State's the 7th fastest team. They're even faster than K-State. They're even faster than Alabama. That's how fast Oklahoma State plays this season. But Oklahoma is a slow-down half-court team. They're in the bottom half of the pace and metrics. So we'll see who can dictate the tempo in this one. That's really what it's going to come down to. I would say Oklahoma State and the over are somewhat correlated. Oklahoma and the under are somewhat correlated. And normally I don't recommend parlays, but for those of you that are new to sports betting, the only time you should do a 2-team parlay is if the side and total are correlated, meaning that the outcomes are somewhat codependent on each other. Oklahoma State gives up a lot of shots from three-point range, and Oklahoma does hit some threes. This is a tough handicap here. I think this one goes down to the wire. Normally I side to the team like Oklahoma that's more able to slow the game down and dictate tempo.
All right, last question before we get you out of here, Steve. Maryland, because nobody's sending me rotation numbers. Maryland, Michigan, 7-13, 7-14. If you guys were listening earlier, I know I saw some comments in the chat. They were not happy that we didn't go over some early games. We went over all of the early games at the beginning of the show. Anyway, we also went over Maryland being a sharp play here from the Westgate Superbook. This one opened 16.5, 18 currently at Superbook. I know they took some money. I think it was at 19. The total has also just gotten completely blown up, sitting at 157.5. Steve, Sean asked the question. He is a Michigan homer. He gets a little upset, but do you agree with him that Michigan is going to blow out yet another team, or are we going to start seeing teams figure out how to stop this Wolverines offense?
Yeah, they're really good. A lot of metrics you can look at, obviously adjusted offensive efficiency and defense, effective field goal percentage, wins above bubble is probably something we don't talk a lot about because I don't really use it from a handicapping perspective. But if you really want to look at maybe who the best teams are in the country, the wins above bubble stat is very interesting. And Michigan is number 1 in that stat, by the way. Maryland is only 93rd. But Michigan has the number 1 adjusted efficiency defense, number 5 offense, the number 2 efficiency effective field goal percentage defense, right? And number 6 offense. They're very good on both sides of the court is my point. But here's what jumps out to me. They have the number 1 2-point percentage offense and defense in the nation. Let that sink in. There are 365 teams, and they're best at scoring and defending 2-pointers. And I bring that up once again because 3-point shooting, as I said earlier, is such a random variable. So when you're that consistent down low, you have size like they do, you're really good game after game. And then on top of that, they play fast. They're the 13th fastest team in the country tempo-wise. That's why they're crushing everybody, and that's why they're a very hard team to fade. I make them about a 19-point favorite in this game, so I don't disagree with that line move from 17.5 up to 18, 18.5. Not a team I'm looking to get in front of right now. And you look at their recent wins, they've beaten everybody except the TCU and Wake Forest games back in early November, which were 4-point games and a 1-point overtime win. They've won almost every other game, including the Villanova game the other night by 18 or more. If you're going to play it, you have to lay it right now with Michigan.
Sorry, Steve, I'm going to disagree with you. Sign me up to step in front of all the freight trains. That is my favorite thing.
But you love that. You love getting hit by the freight trains. You've been like that for 20 years. How you're holding up still, I don't know. By the
freight train. I just like seeing them derail. That is a completely different thing. I'm not trying to get hit by the bright line, okay? Steve Merrill, he is the best. At Steve Merrill, as he mentioned, you guys can head over to the WagerTalk YouTube channel. You guys can check out all of his free videos. He does a ton of free content for you guys. Also, wt.buzz/SM. Steve Merrill, keep kicking ass, and we'll see you here in the next couple of
Kel,
weeks.
let me say real quick. Ace had that great website. They set one up for me too for the full year. Yes, it's just as simple. It's wt.buzz/Steve365.
Perfect.
And I want to point that out because, I keep saying that, like, Steve, you give everything away for free. Well, I give you almost every major game every week for free, but a lot of those are light leans only, right? And you've maybe, the TV leans, treat them as 1% of bankroll. If you want my official best bets, my 4% plays, the games I'm actually using each and every day. NFL went 3-0 last Sunday, number one the last year. Get it for about $1 a play with that 1 year special. It's the biggest discount you'll get all year, and it's through this weekend only. wt.buzz/Steve365.
Awesome, Steve Merrill. We'll see you here soon. Keep on cashing those tickets. Before we bring in Kyle Anthony, I wanted to remind you guys, splashsports.com/Kelly in Vegas. I've got my college football playoff survivor up right now. Splashsports.com/Kelly in Vegas. $250,000 guaranteed, $100 buy-in. I've got 3 entries so far. If this doesn't even get close to filling, I'm going to have like 40 entries. And I'm just going to mix and match. But I have a feeling over the next week or so, it's going to start to fill. But hopefully we still get a nice overlay. Kyle Anthony coming in, UFC, and where I get to pronounce really tough names. He gave me one really, really hard one and 2 easy ones. So
this is like your main event here. This is the last event of 2025. We got to give Kelly the toughest names possible and see if we can come through with a winner here. Have
you seen
the lines? You're definitely not the favorite to pronounce these correctly.
For the love of God, it's so bad. It is so bad. I did a video.
Or just pass it to me. You can pass. You can still pass and just
the good news is he's got a really easy first name. I'm going to give it a go, though, because John Hoagland, our social media manager, did an entire video with me one day. He caught me off guard. I had a couple margs at the Westgate. He goes, Cal, can we film this? And he hands me these cards, and it's me pronouncing UFC fighters. And I'm like, this is my nightmare. But we're going to get into this. Kyle, this is our last pay-per-view of the year, correct?
Well, last pay-per-view was last week. This is just the last event of 2025, which we will have 5 weeks off. That's about the closest UFC bettors get as an off season here. So it'll be nice through the holiday season. But yeah, this is the last event of this year.
Okay. Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Marcus.
All right.
Marcus Buchet. Huh?
Okay, get that A in there at the end, but you're good. All right, so we have Kenny Nzechukwu. He is minus 125. In the comeback, we've got Marcus Buchecha. He is plus 108. Now, this is a fight here where you've got 2 guys that are coming off absolutely terrible performances. You've got Kennedy, who went out there, got hurt early in the first round, was submitted within that first minute of the first round. Then you've got Marcus on their side, who comes in his UFC debut, doesn't look that good, couldn't get the takedowns, 1 for 11 on takedowns, and then he lost the decision. So this is a spot here where really it all comes down to the takedowns here. Now, you've got Buchecha, who is a world champion jiu-jitsu specialist. This guy is elite. If this fight hits the ground, he's got that high-level ability to get submissions. Now, my biggest issue here on the Buchecha side is the fact that he's very one-dimensional. He's a guy that, it's really takedowns or bust. It's really no real plan B. And that's a big issue here for him, where in 2025, heading to 2026, fighters that are one-dimensional do not do well. And now you've got Kennedy Nzechukwu, who is a more well-rounded guy. He's going to have the striking. Obviously, the higher level grappling is going to go to Buchecha, but the striking is just so favorable to Kennedy in this spot here. He's going to be the more athletic guy, going to have the longer reach. He's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage, a 3-inch height advantage, and I think a lot that he can do with that range. But another big issue here is the fact that Buchecha, he has 7 career MMA fights, while you've got Kennedy with 20. So you've got the experience level is very wide. Obviously, Kennedy's been in the UFC for a very long time and had some, mixed results. But you've got Buchecha, who is 35 years old, just made his UFC debut, very one-dimensional. It's a tough spot to take here where we do see the part about this that I think is interesting is that money has consistently poured in on Buchecha in this spot here. And I do believe the market's overcorrecting here a little bit because you've got Kennedy, who is coming off a loss where he didn't look good in the first round. And also the fact he was just submitted. Now he's facing a, submission guy, a grappler who's going to be looking for those takedowns. And I feel like it's a little bit more of an overcorrection. You've got Kennedy, who's only been submitted 2 times in his professional career. That was against Paul Craig back in 2019, who's an elite level grappler, and then recently against Walker. So I think this is a spot here where Kennedy, his 80% takedown defense, can hold up in certain spots. Anytime this plays on the feet, I like him a lot here to land the harder shots, possibly look for that knockdown. Plus, the cardio doesn't look that good for Buchecha. So I think that minus 125 on Kennedy in this spot here is a nice play.
All right. Right now, you've got your Hero parlay up, correct? Or you're going to post it soon?
No, I don't have it up yet. Going to post it after this. And actually, now that you brought it up, this play I'm about to talk about is actually going to be in the Hero parlay. So I do like this from a betting perspective, but I also think it's a great leg for the Hero parlay.
All right, perfect. These are 2 easy ones, so I can't screw it up, right? Gillian Robertson, Amanda Lemos. You like a nice plus 280 here.
Yes, we've got Jillian Robertson here. She is minus 196. On the comeback here, we've got Amanda Lemos. She is plus 160. Now, you've got Jillian here, who is, since she's moved down to 115 pounds, she's looked great. It's more suited for her frame. She's getting more takedowns. She's finding more control time. And she's been able to do, what she's been trying to do with her game plan. She's 5-1 in the division since she's got here. So I think there's a lot of great things that she has done. The big red flags here on the Lemos side is first the fact that she's coming in on short notice. Now, a normal camp is going to be, roughly 8 weeks, somewhere in there, 9 weeks. She's coming in on 4 weeks notice. So there is somewhat that, but there's definitely going to be, is she in peak physical condition? The other part being the fact that she's 38 years old. She is a long-time vet. She's been around a long time. She's done a lot of great things, but in general, it's just at the end of her career. So it's the mix between 38, short notice, and also the fact that she has a tough stylistic matchup here. While Jillian is aggressive, she's going to come forward. She's going to crash the pocket, look for takedowns. She doesn't have the greatest striking. Lemos will have the striking advantage, but pretty much Jillian moves forward, and what she's doing is just throwing punches to pretty much just cut distance, get her hands on you. This is going to be in the apex cage, which in the apex cage, 30% smaller. I do think she can crash the pocket here. I do think she can hold her up against the fence, positionally look to win, find opportunities there. And, the other part here is you've got, Jillian, who is pretty much entering her prime at 30 years old. You've got a 38-year-old kind of at the tail end of her career. Now, where I think this gets interesting is the fact that, Lemos, she does have issues there, but what she does have is strength, physicality. She's got a pretty good takedown defense. She can scramble when she's able to, obviously not get flattened out on the ground. She's finding ways to get back to her feet. And Jillian doesn't have the greatest wrestling. Her wrestling, she has a 40% takedown success rate, not the greatest here. And you even saw recently for Lemos was that against Tatiana Suarez, who is an elite level wrestler, she only was 3 for 12 on takedowns. So she stuffed a lot of those takedowns. So for me in this spot, as you're saying, Kelly, the plus 280 in here for Jillian to win by points, I think there's going to be scrappy moments. I think there's going to be close moments. I do think that you have Jillian who will win positionally, bang some rounds, but I don't see the finish materializing here. I do think that Jillian gets the job done, banks enough rounds, and gets on a scorecard. So I do like this plus 280 number here to get the job done.
All right, guys, if you do have a question regarding this UFC card for Kyle, drop it in the chat. We got a few minutes left. I know everybody's mad that at college basketball, I put it in there too. The comment section is just a little hostile this morning. I should have gotten more coffee. Kyle, let everybody know when your Hero Parlay is going to be posted and where they can find it.
Yeah, so you can check it out on my Twitter at Kyle Anthony UFC. I'm going to be posting that up shortly. We've done well on these overall. We're not going to be hitting these every weekend, so everybody relax, but we're going to be able to hit a good amount of them.
Do you recommend, you know how I do my 3-team money line parlay? So for example, I bet these 3 teams against the spread. I sprinkle a little bit on the money line, and then the parlay is just like the icing on the cake. Do you recommend everybody betting these straight as well? I think so. I mean, for the most, I do, but for the most part, I don't try to push that
narrative to the hero parlay. For the most part, I'm saying, hey, these are ones that I do like. It's a more of a fun bet, one that we have found some good odds with, and we're looking to piece 3 legs together to find opportunity to cash. So yes, I do like these. And as I just said, Jillian Robertson at plus 280, that's a spot I like just straight up. But yet it's a good like for the hero parlay.
Okay. And so for a novice UFC bettor like me, where would I find that? Right. So you go onto the apps, and sometimes there's just so many things to bet. Right.
Well, this is going to be method of victory. Okay. So you got to look for method of victory there, or you look for the double chance. Double chance is basically, it can be point submission. It could be knockout submission. It could be knockout points. So you do have a way to kind of play with that a little bit here. But for the most part, if you're looking at method of victory, one particular way, it's going to be under method of victory. And then you have the other, other ways that you're going to be able to play that.
Sweet. Kyle, you're the best. Appreciate you hanging out with us every single Saturday. When are we going to see you again? You have next 5 weeks off?
So next 5 weeks, I'm headed to Mexico for a week. I'm going to enjoy some time off a little bit. But when I come back, the great part about it is that when we come back, there are back-to-back pay-per-views, because now ESPN's going to be done. They're now having Paramount. I guess they've set up 2 huge cards to start the year, which is going to be the last 2 weeks of January. So a lot of work to do leading up to that, but definitely a great start to 2026.
Awesome. You enjoy your time in Mexico. I'm very jealous. I need to work on my tan. It's already gone from Aruba. Thank you, Kyle. At Kyle Anthony UFC, if you guys are looking for that hero parlay. And thank you to all of you guys, especially our WagerTalk insiders, wt.buzz/insiders to join. You guys are going to get early access to all things WagerTalk. Every once in a while, we're going to give you some access to VR Steam Room. You're going to get Marco's Deli early. You're going to get Bet on It early. $2.99 a month, wt.buzz/insiders. And again, guys, if you're looking for a college football playoff contest, splashsports.com/Kelly in Vegas. I've got a college football playoff survivor. I know the comment section was upset that I put a $100 price tag on it because I wanted $250,000 guaranteed. That's what I wanted. So they gave me what I wanted, but don't worry. There are plenty of other contests over on Splash to fit all of your pricing needs, from $5 to $5,000. I wish I was kidding. Some of them are a little too pricey for me. That being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful Saturday. As VR likes to say, hope you cash them, don't trash them. Back here tomorrow, Errol Epstein, John Murray, VR, and Marco D'Angelo.